Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Then we can be assured that other nations will not treat America with respect, the respect that we deserve.
What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American Politics, back in with a new video, and today we finally have huge developments in the Pennsylvania Senate race for the Republican primary. I know, it's been such a long time, but we finally have what seemingly is the big endorsement of the race. Donald Trump has made his big endorsement in this race. Well, he did have an endorsement prior, but we all know how that went. Just F in the chat for Sean Parnell. But either way, Trump did finally endorse somebody after Parnell withdrew from the race. And let's just say this may be the most controversial endorsement Trump has done so far. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes. Now, before I forget, of course, go follow the Twitter account description down below. Go follow the alt tech stuff, and yeah, go do all that stuff. Alright, enough promotion stuff. Let's actually talk about the big development in the race of Trump endorses Dr. Oz for the United States Senate. Now, if you said this 5 years ago that, you know, former President Donald Trump would have endorsed Dr. Oz for the Pennsylvania Senate, you would have been sent to an insane asylum. Because just 5 years ago, that sounds absurd. But, well, this is 2022, and that's what happened. And this endorsement has definitely been controversial. Not because, Donald Trump is like, endorsing like a neo-Nazi or like that. No, it's like, Dr. Oz has some valid skeletons in the closet he does need to explain, and we're going to go over that today because, quite frankly, I do think this was the right decision. I just think that Dr. Oz needs to explain why he said some of the stuff he did. So let's just talk about that before we get into why this was probably the best solution for Trump. So Dr. Oz in the past said some very questionable things about Roe versus Wade. I mean, you read this here, he said that, Roe versus Wade should stay in effect. Now, you watch what he said. I think personally he screwed up what he said there. When you read or I guess you could say watch what he said, or hear what he said, whatever. He said that, before Roe versus Wade, there was nothing but, unsafe abortions. And again, abortion's murder. But you read and hear what he says, it's like, that's not, wrong. Before Roe versus Wade, the abortions were way more unsafe. Again, it's still murder, but he is technically right in this circumstance. However, he does have to explain why he thinks Roe versus Wade should be legal. But still, it's like, that's like one of the small criticisms of him. Like, yeah, he shouldn't have said that, but it's like, okay, he's not wrong. Like, beforehand, there were some bad practices. Again, I am pro-life 100%. I'm just saying it's factually true. I mean, abortion should be banned after 6 weeks. It's just a fact. But again, he should explain why he said that. Now, the big thing that people are talking about, the big elephant in the room, is not really this. It is, of course, talking about what he said about or did about transgender kids 10 years ago. Now, if you don't know, 10 years ago when Dr. Oz was still on TV, he had 2 transgender kids on his, network, or whatever you want to call it, his freaking, just point is this, his TV show. He had 2 transgender kids on there, their families on, and all that stuff. And I gotta say this, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. You have 2 transgender kids on your TV show, and you talk about it for an entire segment. That looks bad, and when you do watch it, it is bad. However, when you watch it again and again and again, you realize this isn't, him like saying this is a great thing or anything like that. He's like talking about it like it's kind of a disorder. So it's like, okay, that's not horrible. Now again, he should not promoted it, just he should explain why he did that. But when he hear what he actually said in that segment, it's not like, oh, get your kids to become transgender or anything like that. No, it just, talk with the science behind all that stuff, the quote-unquote science. So it's not, the worst, like, it's not as bad as, well, what a certain other candidate did for the United States Senate in Pennsylvania, but it is still bad, and Dr. Oz needs to explain that. But outside of those two things, it's like, okay, what's wrong? What's wrong with Oz? I mean, you look at his issues page, and quite frankly, he may be one of the better Republicans on economics that we've had in a while. Go look up his economics, on this page. His healthcare plan, talking about, actually doing something about healthcare. That's good. He's actually talking about economic issues that matter to people, and he is what I would call more so of an economic nationalist. Again, he's not full on, as nationalist as I want him to be, but compared to most Republicans, he is more so of an economic nationalist more than anything. I mean, he could develop a good healthcare plan, so he could be a good tool in the Senate. He knows healthcare, so he could be a valuable asset for Republicans in the United States Senate for that aspect. Now, as for if I think this was the right decision, yes, I personally think, though Oz had said some stuff in the past that, again, he should explain, this may have been the best decision for Trump. And I know there's other candidates. There's Carla Sands, Kathy Barnett, Jeff Bartos, which, no, Bartos is awful. But there really was other options. But this is the problem. People are not understanding this. When you look inside of these polls that, have Carla Sands at 8%, again, she's a great candidate. Barnett, she's okay too. Issue is, it's like, you look at the polls inside, it's like, they're really, overestimating how much support those two are going to get. Again, they're each probably get 5-6% of the vote, but it's like, they're not getting upwards of 10 to 15%. That's not going to happen. And more so, these two candidates, they seem to be more on Twitter than anything. I don't think Kathy Barnett has done a single campaign event in person. It's like, how do you expect her to win? Same thing for Carla Sands. Again, she seems good on the issues, but it's like, I don't think she's done that much real-life campaigning. As for Dr. Oz, he actually has been doing stuff on the ground, not just on Twitter. Go look at some of his rallies. There is quite a few people at his rallies, and Trump did talk about this in his endorsement. But there is one other candidate that everybody on the right, these neocons and stuff, were clamoring for, David McCormick. Now, the people that criticize Oz, they're completely ignoring this guy. This guy here, he is single-handedly the worst Senate candidate this cycle. I'm not even joking. He is significantly worse than Lisa Murkowski. You heard that right, folks. He is worse than Murkowski. And you want me to prove it? Just go look what he said in the past. And again, I have criticized people for saying, taking stuff out of context, 10 years ago. But when you say stuff like this, the 2021 U.S. Capitol thing, it's like, oh, it's a dark chapter in American history. What? Are you kidding me? He really fell for that crap. You read this. Look what he said about China. This is just praising China. Look at this. When China succeeds, United States succeeds. Really? Look at the past 20 years and tell me that's a fact. When China gets effed over, we succeed. When we get effed over, they succeed. It's like, why do you say this crap? The truth is, he's just a globalist. That is exactly what this guy is. Look at this. He vouched in support of globalism and free trade in 2008. You know what happened that year? The economic crash. He supported even the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Quite frankly, that makes NAFTA look like a genius deal, by the way. Go look up that Trans-Pacific Partnership. But also, he supports globalism, immigration. Oh, we gotta increase skilled immigration. Even Oz wants to reduce immigration. Again, he's not as much as it should be, but still, at least he wants to reduce it. Not, oh, we need to increase skilled immigration. But that's nothing. This here makes what Dr. Oz did 10 years ago significantly more sane. Again, Dr. Oz, need to explain why you did that. But just read this. In 2013, McCormick joined 131 other Republicans in signing a brief filed at the United States Supreme Court supporting the legalization of gay marriage prior to Hodges. You heard that right. In 2013, he wanted to get gay marriage legalized before Hodges was even a case. And look at this. That's not the worst of all. During McCormick's tenure as CEO as Bridgewater Associates, the company's policy was to fully pay for gender transition surgery. And then suddenly, oh, I'm against transgenderism. Really? You are the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. I think that's, Bridgewater, I think that's multi-billions. And now suddenly, oh, I'm against, federal funding for gender transition surgeries. What's conservative about this? I mean, it's one thing to talk about it, like Dr. Oz did. It's another when you pay for someone to do gender transition. What? So who's worse? Some guy that had bad people on his show that he shouldn't have, who, by the way, he had some out-of-context comments, or this crap, a globalist, a transgender cultist, and just pro-China, pro-immigration, and fell for the January 6th nonsense. Who's worse? Exactly. Oz was the best case scenario because if Trump endorsed anybody else. You're essentially endorsing this guy because here's what would have happened. If he would have endorsed, let's say, Sands. Okay, let's say Sands gets 20% of the vote, Oz gets 15, the other two clowns get like 15 each. Do some basic math. McCormick would probably win in that scenario. The vote would be split. As for endorsing Oz, you get a lot of Carlos Sands people over to Oz, Barnett's people over to Oz, Bartos people over to Oz. As for McCormick, he's screwed. So this was a best case scenario. And I know some people on the right are saying, well, Trump should have ran somebody else. Look, I know from firsthand, I do have sources, this is a fact. Nobody in Pennsylvania wanted to run for the Senate race after the Sean Parnell stuff. They got spooked out of running, and they got the hell out of it. That's why some base Republicans like Scott Perry did not run. They got spooked over that, and they did not want to deal with it. So this was the best case scenario. If Parnell never dropped out, none of this would have happened. Again, I don't think he should have ran in the first place, because he apparently knew he was in legal trouble. He just didn't say anything about it. He shouldn't have ran in the first place. Instead, push for somebody else to run. But also, Sean Parnell endorsed McCormick. It's like, why? It's just an F in the chat. So Oz, as of now, is the best candidate Republicans have in the race. Best case scenario, because the other clowns, if you endorse them, well, you split the vote and McCormick wins by default. As for Oz, he's going to have a better chance of consolidating the base and winning the nomination. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you did. Smash the like button down below. Subscribe, share it with friends, hit the little bell, and yes, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Godspeed to all of you.